Hey, what's going on, guys? I hope you all are doing well today. Elliot here. Welcome back to The Fragrance Well. So today, got a very simple topic for you guys. I'm going to call it perfect batting average. What do I mean by that? These are fragrances that essentially can work for the most amount of people and the most number of situations. In other words, you can use them for pretty much anything, and a wide variety of people should like them. Some of these are battle tested. Well, actually, just about all of these are battle tested. There may be a few that may not have quite the reach overall, but I think it's undeniable that these fragrances simply will work for the most amount of people, for the most amount of situations. So I got 8 of them. Let's go ahead and get over them. But before we get started, as always, please remember, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and please hit that bell icon, enable notifications so you can be notified when I upload new videos. Let's get into it. All right, guys, first one's coming from the house of Maison Francis Kurkdjian. It's going to be Amyris Homme Extrait de Parfum. Maison Francis Kurkdjian, Amyris Homme Extrait de Parfum. So this one is going to be one of the ones that, may not quite have the reach. Obviously, if you consider the house of MFK, there are other fragrances that are much more popular. We'll get to that later. But yes, this one here I think is an amazing option. While not necessarily a blue scent, it is one that I think is highly versatile and can work for pretty much any situation. And if more people just kind of got around to getting their nose on this, maybe the cinnamon, the amount of Ceylon cinnamon that's in this, maybe the only thing that really might throw some people off. But if you're not really someone who likes to shy away from a lot of amounts of cinnamon, this fragrance can work great for you. Amyris based, of course, which is typically has a balsamic kind of woody smell. There's also some iris in this. It's fresh, it's spicy, it is sweet. A lot of tonka bean in this as well. This one, great for the high heat, a really heavy, strong scent that works great in the high heat. Maybe not at the height of summer, but you can wear it in warm situations. But outside of all of that, I think this fragrance simply works for everything. Once again, from the house of Maison Francis Kurkdjian, this is Amyris Homme Extrait de Parfum. Check it out if you haven't. Next one's coming from the house of Prada. This is going to be Prada L'Homme. Prada's Prada L'Homme. Now, I know Prada is pretty much all in on the Luna Rossa line, particularly Luna Rossa Ocean right now, but that's neither here nor there. I still think this is one of the best scents they've ever put out. In terms of office wear, I still think this is like the quintessential easy to wear office fragrance that'll set you apart from everybody else, in my opinion. This one is an iris based fragrance. The iris is quite fresh. It's a little bit creamy, but it's more fresh than anything. Definitely sweet. There's a lot of amber in this, a little bit of pepper to just kind of balance it out, other florals, but it's highly floral and sweet and fresh and clean, and a little bit soapy as well. You'll smell like a very high quality hand soap. That's kind of how I like to describe this scent. Now, while it is a good office scent, you literally can use it for everything else as well. It works for all occasions as well. I say office scent, that's just because how I've primarily used it, but you can use this for anything. Check it out if you haven't already. It still sells. Once again, from the house of Prada, this is Prada L'Homme. Next one's coming from the house of Nishane. This is going to be Papilefiko. Nishane Papilefiko. This one's getting more and more popular, I think, overall, but it's still kind of an unsung hero in terms of the house of Nishane. It's still one I think deserves a lot more attention. Now, you're gonna get some lemony-like citrus in this. You're gonna get quite a bit of lavender. It is more of a clean lavender to my nose. Overall, the fragrance is quite balsamic. So if that's something that maybe bothers you or you don't like balsamic scents, that might be a reason to stay away from this. But other than that, this fragrance does very well for me. Definitely garners positive attention. You can use it for anything. It's classy. It's alluring. This scent is magnificent in my opinion. And if you haven't checked this one out, definitely get a sample of it. I think you might be pleasantly surprised. I know some of you guys have already checked it out or already own it. I've obviously talked about this one quite a bit on the channel up to this point. Once again, from the house of Nishane, this is Papilefiko. Next one's coming from the house of Louis Vuitton. This is Imagination. Louis Vuitton Imagination. I literally just picked this up a couple of days ago. It's been my scent of the day ever since. Man, listen, the great thing about fragrances is the party never really ends with the fragrance as long as it is selling. And what do I mean by that? Obviously, this has been out for a couple of years now. It's been touted as one of the best fragrances to come out of the house, and with good reason. Now, I'm not new to the scent. I've smelled it and sampled it before, but I had never actually tried it on skin. Went to a Louis Vuitton store a couple of days ago, actually tried this on skin, got the full picture of it, and was like, Yeah, let me go ahead and get that right now. This is magnificent. It's fresh, it's clean, it's calming, it has black tea in it. Ah, man. There's a little bit of spice, ginger in particular. I experienced the ginger similar to how I experienced it in Xerjoff Oud and Overdose. And there's a lot of ambroxan in this, but I think it is done in a way that, doesn't really bother me. Not that I have a problem with ambroxan, but the ambroxan really makes this scent. Wonderful fragrance. I'm sure many of you guys might already have this. If you do, you know what I'm talking about. You can use this for absolutely everything. And yes, it does garner positive attention. Yes, I've already gotten an unsolicited compliment on it. Once again, from the house of Louis Vuitton, this is Imagination. All right, next one's coming from the house of Creed. By the way, we're going to get into some of the more staples in this category, if you will. This is going to be Aventus. Creed Aventus. At the end of the day, I don't care if you're tired of hearing about it in fragrance content, nobody can deny that this is a perfect batting average fragrance. It has spawned the most flankers possibly in history. I'm sorry, not the most flankers, but the most inspired buys, the most clones in fragrance history. Probably if we ever did do an actual numbers metric on that. The scent just works for everything. You can use it for anything. It works obviously for a wide variety of guys because a lot of people may not necessarily buy this version, but they definitely buy a lot of the clones. And the fact of the matter is the scent DNA just simply works. It's fresh, it's fruity, it's smoky. All three or one of those three, depending on which batch or which variation of the fragrance you have. Bergamot, pineapple, birchwood, ambergris. This is a fragrance that changed the fragrance game, and it's still to this day kind of holding strong in that regard. And you know what? It is a perfect batting fragrance as far as I'm concerned. You can use it for anything. Once again, from the house of Creed, this is Aventus, or any of its inspired by fragrances or clones, to be honest. Next up, coming from the house of Chanel, we've got Bleu de Chanel. Chanel, Bleu de Chanel, this is particularly the Parfum, as you can see, but I'm talking about every iteration of it. I don't know if they did it intentionally with that mindset or it just kind of came out that way. This fragrance can work for absolutely anything, and any man can pull this fragrance off. This one has that perfect batting average from that standpoint. You can never go wrong with Bleu de Chanel. It may not always necessarily be the best choice for certain scenarios, but it can always work and always get the job done. This one in particular is more of a woody iteration on the Bleu de Chanel with the citruses and the slight aromatics and the dried woods. This one turns up the sandalwood and the cedarwood. That sandalwood cedarwood combination that you can find in many of the Chanel fragrances is just kind of turned up to the max in this one, and I love this particular iteration. But what's great about Bleu de Chanel, you can find pretty much what you need, I think, in any one of the three concentrations that exist right now. So the Eau de Toilette or the Eau de Parfum or this one of those three can work for just about any man as far as I'm concerned. Once again, from the house of Chanel, this is Bleu de Chanel. Next up, we got another one from the house of Maison Francis Kurkdjian, and this is Baccarat Rouge 540 Extrait. Maison Francis Kurkdjian, Baccarat Rouge 540 Extrait de Parfum, kind of similar to Creed Aventus. Really just the scent DNA in general works, right? I still think you can use this for anything. This one in particular, if you overspray it, it may not necessarily be appropriate for certain scenarios, but the scent in and of itself, I think can work for anything and any man. I even though this is unisex, I think any man can still pull this one off. This unique DNA of almost a cotton candy-like sweetness, bitter almond in this version in particular, with the saffron and the ambergris and the jasmine that's in this. This is still just a unique scent that just simply works, and obviously people love it because it sells a boatload of bottles every year, even though the price is ridiculously high for this stuff. But hey, if it works, it works. And it's a perfect batting average fragrance as far as I'm concerned. Once again, from the house of Maison Francis Kurkdjian, this is Baccarat Rouge 540 Extrait. All right, last but not least, coming from the house of Dior, this is going to be Dior Homme Sport 2021. Dior Homme Sport 2021. And I think this works as well as the Dior Homme 2020 release. I just happen to like the Sport better, so that's the only reason I chose this one for the video. Modern, fresh, very vibrant, woody fragrance. This one turns up the lemon and has some aldehyde, so it's very bright, very invigorating kind of scent, but it still has that clean, modern woody base, so to speak. Primarily, I think coming from Isogamma Super. I imagine that's still in this fragrance, since it's definitely in the Dior Homme 2020 version. The scent can work for anything. Yes, this one is definitely a little bit more of a warm weather take, but I'm talking about the Dior Homme 2020 and on DNA, which is in this, even though it's a fresher version. I think any man can pull that off, and you can definitely use it for any scenario. Kind of similar to Bleu de Chanel. Is it always going to be the absolute best choice? Probably not, but it will always work. So it's a perfect batting average fragrance for that reason. Once again, from the house of Dior, this is Dior Homme Sport 2021. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this video. Let me know down in the comments below if you've got a fragrance that you would consider a perfect batting average fragrance. It's one you can always go to and will always work in any scenario. Doesn't matter what is going on. Looking forward to seeing what you guys have to say. So thanks again for watching all the way to the end. Please remember to be well and smell well. And I'll see you in the next episode of The Fragrance Well. Have a good one.